In a distant galaxy, Commander Zalara stood at the helm of her sleek starship, the Starlight. She was a brave alien leader, known for her quick thinking and strong will. Today, she was on a mission to patrol the outer reaches of her territory, ensuring peace in her sector. Zalara's green skin shimmered under the ship's control panels, and her long, silver hair floated gracefully in the low gravity. She was proud of her ship and her crew, but she felt a sense of unease. As Zalara navigated through the vastness of space, a strange signal flashed on her control screen. It was a weak distress signal coming from nearby. Curiosity sparked in her eyes. What could it be? She wondered. The signal was unlike anything she had encountered before. Zalara ordered her crew to change course and head towards the source of the signal. When they arrived, the crew gasped at the sight before them. A human ship, battered and broken, drifted helplessly in space. The vessel was old, and its exterior was covered in scratches and dents. "It looks abandoned," one of her crew members said, worry etched on his face. But Zalara felt a strong urge to investigate. "We cannot leave without knowing what happened here," she declared. The crew prepared to board the human ship. They put on their spacesuits and secured their oxygen supplies. Zalara led the way, her heart racing with a mix of excitement and fear. As they stepped onto the damaged ship, the air was cold and stale. They moved carefully, using their flashlights to guide their way through the dark corridors. Suddenly, Zalara spotted something. In the corner of a small cabin, she saw a figure lying on the floor. It was a human, and he looked unconscious. Zalara rushed over, her heart pounding. "Is he alive?" she asked, kneeling beside him. Her crew gathered around, concerned. The man had short, dark hair and was wearing a spacesuit. Zalara gently shook his shoulder. "Wake up," she urged. To her relief, the human stirred and slowly opened his eyes. They were a deep blue, filled with confusion and fear. Jake, as he introduced himself, looked up at Zalara and was astonished. An alien commander stood before him. "Where am I?" he asked, his voice hoarse. "You're on my ship," Zalara replied. "I'm Commander Zalara. I found you drifting in your damaged ship. We need to get you to safety." Jake blinked, trying to comprehend the situation. "You saved me?" he asked, still in disbelief. Zalara nodded, her expression serious but kind. "Yes, but we must hurry. Your ship is not safe." With Zalara's help, Jake stood up. He felt weak but grateful. He could hardly believe that an alien had rescued him. As they made their way back to the Starlight, Jake noticed how different Zalara looked. Her green skin glowed softly, and her silver hair moved as if it were alive. He felt a strange connection to her, as if they understood each other without words. "What happened to my ship?" Jake asked, his worry growing. Zalara frowned. "It was attacked by space pirates. We need to report this to my people. We cannot let them continue their raids." Once aboard the Starlight, Jake was amazed by the advanced technology around him. The ship hummed with energy, and the control panels lit up with colorful displays. Zalara explained how the ship worked, showing him the navigation systems and weaponry. Jake felt a mix of fear and excitement. He had never seen anything like this before. Zalara assigned her crew to tend to Jake's injuries while she plotted a course for her home planet. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of awe he had for Zalara. She was not only beautiful, but also powerful and confident. As he rested, he realized he had been given a second chance, and it was all thanks to her. Little did they know, this rescue would lead to a bond that would change both their lives forever. After the dramatic rescue, Jake settled into life on the Starlight. He was still amazed by everything around him. The ship was much larger than he had imagined, with bright lights and strange sounds. Zalara and her crew welcomed him warmly, eager to learn about Earth and its people. Zalara worked hard to help Jake feel at home. She took him on tours of the ship, showing him the command center, the living quarters, and even the engine room where powerful machines hummed. Jake listened closely, fascinated by how advanced everything was. He learned that Zalara's people had been exploring the galaxy for centuries, gathering knowledge and technology. One day, while they were in the observation deck, Jake gazed out at the stars. "There are so many of them," he said, feeling small yet inspired. Zalara stood beside him, her eyes sparkling. "Each star is a world waiting to be explored," she replied. "Together we can learn about them." Jake looked at her, realizing how much he admired her adventurous spirit. He felt a strong connection growing between them. As the days passed, Jake and Zalara spent more time together. They shared meals, laughter, and stories about their lives. Jake taught her about Earth's cultures, music, and food. Zalara was eager to learn, always asking questions. One evening, Jake introduced her to a simple Earth dish called spaghetti. He showed her how to twirl the noodles and savor the flavors. Zalara loved it and was impressed by the variety of human cuisine. "Your food is amazing," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with delight. Jake smiled, feeling proud. "I'm glad you like it. We have many more dishes to try." They continued to cook together, mixing their cultures and creating new recipes. This shared experience brought them closer, and they laughed and enjoyed each other's company. However, not everything was easy. Some members of Zalara's crew were not happy about Jake being on the ship. They whispered among themselves, doubting whether a human could be trusted. One evening, a crew member named Rock confronted Jake. "Why should we trust you?" "You're not one of us," he said, crossing his arms. Zalara stepped in, her voice firm. "Jake saved my life, Rock. He deserves our respect." Jake felt nervous, but also grateful for Zalara's support. "I'm here to help." "I want to prove myself," he replied, determination in his voice. Zalara decided it was time for Jake to prove his worth. She invited him to join the crew for training exercises. At first, Jake was unsure, but he didn't want to let Zalara down. During training, they practiced teamwork, strategies, and even combat skills. Zalara was impressed by Jake's determination. He pushed himself hard, learning quickly. As they trained together, Jake noticed how Zalara moved with grace and power. She was an expert fighter, and he admired her strength. One day, during a sparring session, he managed to hold his own against her for a few moments. "You're improving," Zalara said, her voice filled with encouragement. Jake smiled, feeling proud of himself. Their bond grew stronger with each challenge they faced. They learned to trust and rely on one another. Jake realized that Zalara was not just a commander, she was a friend and a partner. He admired her bravery and kindness. Zalara, in turn, saw Jake's determination and courage. He was not just a human, he was someone she could count on. One night, as they sat together under the stars in the observation deck, Zalara spoke softly. "I never expected to find someone like you, Jake. You make me feel different." Jake felt his heart race. "I feel the same way, Zalara. You've changed my life," he admitted. Under the glow of the stars, they shared their first moment of silence, realizing that their feelings for each other were growing deeper. It was a moment that neither of them would forget. The universe seemed to shrink around them, leaving just the two of them and the stars shining bright. As they continued their journey through space, Jake and Zalara knew they were not just allies. They were becoming something more, a bond that would tie their fates together forever. Days turned into weeks on the starlight, and the bond between Jake and Zalara continued to grow. They trained together, shared meals, and spent countless hours under the stars. However, a shadow loomed over them. The threat of space pirates still hung in the air, and Zalara had to prepare her crew for any possible attack. One afternoon, as they were reviewing battle strategies in the command center, an alarm suddenly blared. Zalara's heart raced as she turned to her crew. "What's happening?" she demanded. Rock, the crew member who had doubted Jake, quickly checked the screens. "Commander, we've detected an incoming ship." "It's a pirate vessel!" Zalara's expression hardened. "Prepare for battle," she commanded. She turned to Jake, her eyes intense. "Stay here and follow my orders. We need to protect our ship." Jake nodded, feeling a mix of fear and determination. He knew this was their chance to prove their worth. The crew rushed to their stations, readying weapons and shields. Zalara took her place at the helm, her mind focused. She felt a surge of adrenaline as the pirate ship appeared on the monitors. It was massive and heavily armed, with dark colors and sharp edges. "They are here to steal from us," Zalara said, her voice steady. "We won't let them." As the pirate ship closed in, Zalara gave commands to her crew. They fired warning shots, hoping to scare the pirates away. But the pirates were relentless, firing back and striking the starlight. The ship shook violently, and alarms blared. "We're taking damage!" Rock shouted, panic in his voice. "Keep firing! Don't let them board!" Zalara shouted back, her heart pounding. She glanced at Jake, who was at a nearby station, following orders. He felt scared but determined to help. He remembered his training and focused on the screens in front of him. Suddenly, a new message came through the communication system. It was a pirate leader, his voice rough and mocking. "You think you can defeat us? Surrender now and I might let you live." The crew exchanged worried glances. Zalara stood tall, her jaw set. "We will never surrender," she shouted back. Jake felt a rush of adrenaline as the battle raged on. He quickly assessed the situation. "Commander, if we can disable their engines, we might be able to escape," he suggested, recalling a tactic they had practiced. Zalara nodded, recognizing the idea's merit. "Rock, aim for their engines. Jake, help him with the targeting systems." Together, they worked as a team, firing at the pirate ship's engines. The crew's shots struck true, and the pirate ship's engines sparked and flickered. Cheers erupted in the command center. "It's working!" Rock shouted, excitement in his voice. But then, the pirate ship launched boarding pods toward the starlight. "They're coming!" Zalara yelled, determination shining in her eyes. "Prepare for hand-to-hand combat! Jake, stay close to me!" As the pirates boarded, chaos erupted on the ship. Zalara and Jake fought side by side, using everything they had learned. Zalara moved with grace while Jake used his strength and agility. Together, they pushed back against the invading pirates. After a fierce struggle, they managed to drive the pirates back. The crew cheered as the last pirate was thrown off the ship. They had won the battle, but at a cost. The starlight was damaged, and the crew was exhausted. That night, as Jake and Zalara surveyed the damage, they both felt the weight of what had happened. "We were lucky," Jake said softly, his voice tinged with worry. "But what if they come back?" Zalara nodded, her expression serious. "We need to make a choice, Jake. We can stay and defend our territory, or we can leave and find a new home. But if we leave, we might never return." Jake felt torn. He had grown to love the Starlight and its crew, but he also knew the danger they faced. "What do you want to do?" he asked Zalara, hoping she would lead the way. She took a deep breath, looking up at the stars. "I want to protect my people, but I also want to protect you. I can't let you be in danger." Jake felt his heart race. "I want to stay with you, no matter what happens. But I understand if you decide to leave." Zalara looked at him, her eyes softening. "We will find a way together. You are not just a human to me, you are my partner." They both knew the decision would shape their future. As they looked at the stars together, they understood that whatever choice they made, they would face it side by side. After the battle with the pirates, life on the Starlight changed. Zalara and Jake worked hard to repair the ship. The crew was tired but determined. They knew the dangers of space, and they were ready to face whatever came next. One morning, Zalara called a meeting in the command center. She stood before her crew, her expression serious. "We need to improve our defenses. We cannot let the pirates catch us off guard again," she said. The crew nodded in agreement, their faces showing concern. Jake listened carefully. He wanted to help, but he felt nervous. He was still a human in an alien world. Zalara turned to him and smiled. "Jake, your ideas have been helpful. Do you have any suggestions?" Her faith in him made him feel stronger. Taking a deep breath, Jake spoke. "What if we set up a series of traps near our main engines? If pirates come again, they'll get caught. We can also work on new shields for the ship." The crew murmured in agreement. Zalara's eyes sparkled with excitement. "That's a great idea, Jake. Let's split into teams and start working." As the teams formed, Jake joined Rock and a few other crew members in the engine room. They gathered tools and materials, brainstorming how to create effective traps. "We should use the old parts from the damaged ship," Rock suggested. "We can make something useful from the scraps." Working together, they created several traps that would activate if someone tried to sneak into the engine room. They also improved the shields, making them stronger. Jake felt proud to contribute, realizing he was becoming part of the crew. Days passed, and they finished their preparations. The crew felt more confident. But just as they began to relax, a new challenge appeared. An unknown ship appeared on their scanners. It was not a pirate ship, but it looked suspicious. Zalara gathered the crew once more. "We don't know who they are. We must be careful," she warned. The crew exchanged worried glances. "What should we do?" one crew member asked. Jake raised his hand. "Maybe we can send a message. Ask them who they are and what they want." Zalara nodded, appreciating his idea. "That's smart. Let's do it." They sent a message, and to their surprise, the unknown ship replied. "We are explorers from the Zelvian Empire. We come in peace and wish to trade." The crew looked at each other, unsure. Zalara weighed her options. "We should be cautious, but we also need allies. I think we should meet them." The Starlight adjusted its course, moving closer to the Zelvian ship. Zalara prepared her crew for the meeting. "Remember, stay alert. We do not know their intentions. When the two ships were close enough, they docked. A group of Zelvian explorers stepped onto the starlight. They had shimmering skin and bright eyes, looking very different from Jake and the crew. Jake felt a mix of curiosity and fear. Would they be friendly or hostile? Zalara greeted them with confidence. "Welcome to the starlight. I am Commander Zalara." The Zelvian leader bowed slightly. "I am Kellen, and these are my explorers. We seek to share knowledge and resources." Jake watched the exchange carefully. Zalara and Kellen discussed trade and the possibility of working together. Jake felt a sense of hope. Maybe they could find new allies in this vast galaxy. However, during the discussions, Jake noticed something strange. One of the Zelvian explorers was quietly scanning the room, looking at the crew with sharp eyes. Jake felt a shiver down his spine. "Zalara, be careful," he whispered to her. "I think they might be hiding something." Zalara's expression shifted, noticing Jake's concern. She decided to remain cautious. "What do you offer in trade?" she asked Kellen, keeping her voice steady. Kellen smiled, but Jake sensed something hidden behind that smile. "We have advanced technology and knowledge that could help your ship," he replied. As the meeting continued, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of unease. He glanced at the traps they had set up, hoping they would not be needed. When the meeting ended, Zalara turned to her crew. "We will take time to consider this offer. Thank you, Kellen. We will discuss it among ourselves." As the Zelvians left, Jake shared his concerns. "I don't trust them, Zalara. I think they have their own agenda." Zalara nodded thoughtfully. "I feel it too, but we need to be smart about this. Let's keep our eyes open." That night, Jake and Zalara sat together under the stars, reflecting on the day's events. "We have faced many challenges already," Jake said, "but I feel stronger with you by my side." Zalara smiled, her heart warming. "We will face whatever comes together, Jake. You are part of my crew now." They knew the road ahead would not be easy, but together they were ready to face any challenges that the universe threw their way. The days after the meeting with the Zelvian explorers were filled with uncertainty. The crew of the Starlight worked hard to repair their ship and improve its defenses. Zalara and Jake kept a close eye on the Zelvian ship, wondering what the explorers were really up to. One morning, Zalara called for a meeting. "We have made many changes to the ship and our traps are ready, but we still need to decide about the Zelvians," she announced. The crew sat in silence, thinking deeply. Jake felt the weight of the decision pressing down on them. After a moment, Rock spoke up. "What if we invite them to help us with our repairs? They offered knowledge, and this could be a way to see if we can trust them." The crew considered this idea. It was a good plan, but it also felt risky. Zalara turned to Jake. "What do you think? Should we take the chance?" Jake thought for a moment. "If they are truly here to help, it could be good for us. But we must remain cautious." Zalara nodded, appreciating his input. They decided to send an invitation to the Zelvians. A few hours later, Kellen and his explorers arrived at the Starlight. They looked excited, ready to share their technology. "Thank you for inviting us, Commander Zalara," Kellen said with a smile. "We are eager to help." The crew welcomed the Zelvians on board. Jake felt a mix of curiosity and caution as they showed Kellen around the ship. The Zelvians quickly got to work using their advanced technology to repair the engines and upgrade the shields. The crew watched in amazement as the Starlight transformed before their eyes. As they worked together, Jake and Zalara spent more time with Kellen and the other Zelvians. They learned about the Zelvian Empire and its culture. Jake found it fascinating. The Zelvians were friendly and shared stories of their adventures in space. Slowly, the tension began to ease. One evening, while the crew celebrated their progress with a meal, Zalara raised her glass. "To new friends and brighter futures," she cheered. Everyone raised their glasses, feeling hopeful. Jake looked around at his new family and felt a sense of belonging. After the meal, Kellen approached Jake. "I have a proposal," he said, his eyes shining. "We would like to work together, not just as allies but as partners. There are many dangers in space, and together we can protect each other." Jake felt a rush of excitement. "That sounds great! We could learn so much from each other," he replied. Kellen smiled and nodded. "Yes, we can share knowledge and resources. Together we can face anything." As the weeks went by, the bond between the Starlight crew and the Zelvians grew stronger. They faced challenges together, from minor repairs to training exercises. They shared laughter and learned from one another. Jake became a bridge between the two groups, helping to build trust. One day, while working on the ship, Zalara approached Jake with a serious look. I have been thinking about what Kellen proposed. What if we expand our mission? We could travel together, exploring new worlds and helping those in need. Jake's eyes widened with excitement. That would be amazing! We could make a difference in the galaxy. Zalara smiled. Yes, we can become a force for good. But we need to discuss this with the crew and the Zelvians. We must be united in this decision. Jake nodded, knowing it was important to ensure everyone was on board. The next day, they held a meeting to discuss their future. Jake and Zalara shared their vision, explaining how they could work together to explore and help others. The crew listened intently, their faces lighting up with excitement. After some discussion, Rock stood up. I think it's a brilliant idea. We have become a family, and together we can achieve so much. Cheers erupted from the crew, and Zalara felt a wave of pride. The Zelvians expressed their support as well, eager to join the mission. With everyone in agreement, they began to prepare for their journey. They studied maps of nearby star systems, looking for planets that needed assistance. Jake felt a thrill of adventure. He was no longer just a human on an alien ship. He was part of something bigger. As they set their course for the first planet on their mission, Zalara stood beside Jake on the bridge. This is just the beginning, she said, her eyes shining with determination. Together we will make a difference. Jake smiled, feeling a sense of purpose. I believe in us. We can face any challenge as long as we stick together. With their hearts full of hope and their minds focused on the future, the Starlight and its crew sailed into the unknown, ready to embrace the adventures that awaited them in the vast galaxy. They had faced many challenges, but now they were united, strong, and ready for whatever lay ahead.